Commander Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the dying star through the main screen. The red giant was growing bigger every day, ready to explode and destroy everything in the system. But Jake was not here to watch a star die. He was here to save lives. "Sir, we have contact with the Alderay ships," said his communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. "They are ready to begin the evacuation." Jake nodded. The Alderay were an old alien race, much older than humans. Their home star was about to go supernova, and they had nowhere to go. When they asked the galaxy for help, most species said no. The Zephyrians said the Alderay were too few to matter. The Nexus Collective said helping them would waste resources. The Krell Empire laughed and called them weak. Only humans said yes. "How many ships do we have ready?" Jake asked. 50 transport ships, sir. Plus 20 escort ships to protect them," Amy replied. "We can carry about 4,000 Alderay per trip." Jake did the math in his head. 200,000 Alderay needed to be moved. That meant 50 trips between their dying world and this new planet humans had found for them. It would take months, and they did not have much time. "Begin the evacuation," Jake ordered. The first group of Alderay ships came alongside the human transports. Jake watched as thousands of alien families boarded human ships. The Alderay looked like tall, thin people with blue skin and large eyes. Their children stayed close to their parents, scared of the strange human ships. Dr. Lisa Harper was in charge of making sure the Alderay were comfortable during the long trip to their new home. She walked through the transport ships, checking on the alien families. "How are they doing?" Jake asked when Lisa returned to his ship. "They are scared but grateful," Lisa said. "Their leader, Elder Veltar, wants to speak with you." Jake met with the Alderay elder in the ship's meeting room. Veltar was very old, even for his species. His blue skin was pale, and he moved slowly. But his eyes were bright with intelligence. "Commander Martinez," Veltar said in careful English, "my people owe you a debt we can never repay. No other species would help us. We do not want payment," Jake said. "We help because it is right." Veltar studied Jake's face for a long moment. "This is why you were chosen," he said quietly. "Chosen for what?" Jake asked, but Veltar just smiled and said nothing more. The evacuation took 4 months. Every day, human ships flew between the dying Alderay world and their new home on a planet humans had named New Aldera. The star grew bigger and more dangerous each week. Solar storms damaged several ships, but no lives were lost. Captain Ron Davis commanded one of the escort ships. His job was to protect the transports from space pirates, who sometimes attacked refugee ships. One day, 3 pirate ships tried to capture an Alderay transport. "This is Captain Davis of the human ship Defender," Ron said over the radio. "Leave the transport alone, or we will stop you." The pirates laughed. "Humans cannot fight," their leader said. "Give us the aliens, and we will let you live." Ron's answer was to fire his ship's weapons. The human escort ships were smaller than the pirate vessels, but they fought with determination. After a short battle, the pirates ran away. The Alderay on the transport sent a message to Ron. "Thank you for protecting us," they said. "We will remember." On the last day of the evacuation, Elder Veltar called Jake to his temporary home on New Aldera. The old alien was very weak now, tired from the stress of moving his entire people. "Commander, I have something for you," Veltar said. He held out a crystal device about the size of a book. It was clear like glass, but glowed with a soft blue light. "This is the Nexus Key. It is the most valuable thing my people own." Jake did not want to take it. "Elder, we did not help you for rewards." "I know," Veltar said. "That is exactly why you must have it. This device is very old, older than my species. It was left for us by an ancient race that is gone now. They told us to keep it safe until we found a species worthy of its power. What does it do? Jake asked. We do not know, Veltar admitted. Our scientists have studied it for thousands of years, but it will not work for us. Perhaps it will work for humans. Perhaps not. But it belongs with a species that helps others without asking for anything in return. Jake took the crystal device. It felt warm in his hands and seemed to pulse with energy. I will make sure our best scientists study it. Be careful, Commander. Veltar warned. Great power often comes with great responsibility. Jake brought the Nexus key back to Earth. Dr. Lisa Harper and her team spent months studying it, but they could not make it work. The crystal seemed to respond to different tests, glowing brighter or dimmer, but it never did anything useful. It might be broken, Lisa told Jake during one of his visits to her lab. Or maybe it only works for the species that made it, and they are long gone. Jake nodded, but he remembered Veltar's words about humans being chosen. He wondered what the old alien had meant. The Nexus key was placed in a secure facility on Earth, in a vault deep underground. Most people forgot about it as human. Civilization continued to grow and spread across the galaxy. The Aldari settled happily on New Aldera. They built new cities and slowly grew in numbers. They always remembered that humans had saved them when no one else would help. Every year, they sent messages of thanks to Earth. Other alien species watched humanity with mild interest. The Zephyrians thought humans were useful, but not very smart. The Nexus Collective saw them as inefficient, but harmless. The Krell Empire considered them weak because they wasted time and resources, helping other species. None of them realized that this weakness would one day change the entire galaxy. 25 years had passed since the Aldari evacuation. Jake Martinez was now an old man, retired from active duty. The galaxy seemed peaceful, and humans had built colonies on dozens of worlds. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning when the Krell Empire attacked. Admiral Beth Collins was having breakfast when the emergency alarm sounded throughout the space station. She ran to the command center, still wearing her civilian clothes. Report, she ordered. Ma'am, we have multiple Krell war fleets attacking our outer colonies, said Captain Steve Walsh. Early reports suggest they have at least 200 ships. Beth felt her stomach drop. Krell ships were massive, each one the size of a human city. They were built for one purpose, destroying other civilizations and taking their resources. How many colonies are under attack? Beth asked. 12 so far, ma'am. But the number keeps growing. Beth looked at the star map showing human space. Red dots marked each colony under attack. As she watched, more red dots appeared. Send messages to all our allies, she ordered. Tell them we need help immediately. The first colony to fall was Greenfield, a farming world with 2 million people. The Krell ships arrived without warning and began bombing from orbit. Captain Ron Davis commanded the small defense force there. All civilian ships, evacuate immediately, Ron ordered over the radio. Military ships, form up on me. We will buy. Then time. Ron knew his 6 small ships could not defeat the Krell war fleet, but he had to try. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. Ron's ship was the last to be destroyed, but his sacrifice allowed most of the civilian ships to escape. The news from other colonies was just as bad. The Krell were not just conquering human worlds. They were destroying them. They burned forests, poisoned rivers, and killed everything they could not use. Admiral Collins sent desperate messages to every species in the galaxy. The Krell are attacking human space, she said. We request immediate military assistance under the Galactic Peace Accords. The Zephyrian response came first. The Zephyrian Council has decided to remain neutral in this conflict. We wish both sides a quick resolution. The Nexus Collective was even more cold. Military intervention would be inefficient. The Collective calculates a 97% probability of human defeat, regardless of our involvement. Other species made excuses or simply ignored the human pleas. Some even seemed happy that the Krell were attacking humans instead of them. Only one species answered the call for help. Elder Veltar was now very old, but he stood straight when he addressed the Aldery Council on New Aldera. Humans saved us when we had nothing, he said. Now they need our help. Every ship we have must join their defense. Elder, said one of the younger Aldery, we only have 40 ships. The Krell have hundreds. We will all die. Then we die with honor, Veltar replied. Better to die fighting beside our friends than to live as cowards. The Aldery fleet, small but determined, joined Admiral Collins at the Battle of Titan's Gate. This was humanity's plan to stop the Krell advance before. They reached Earth. Captain Amy Rodriguez commanded the human destroyer Defiant. She watched the Aldery ships take position beside the human fleet. Ma'am, said her communication officer, the Aldery commander is sending a message. Put it through, Amy said. The blue face of an Aldery captain appeared on the screen. Human friends, he said, we are honored to fight beside you. Today we repay an old debt. Amy felt tears in her eyes. Thank you, she said. The Battle of Titan's Gate was the largest space battle in human history. 300 Krell ships faced 80 human ships and 40 Aldery vessels. The odds were terrible, but the humans and Aldery fought with courage. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Murphy was aboard one of the human battleships. He watched as Krell weapons tore through ship after ship. The human shields could not stop the alien. Energy beams. Sir, his weapons officer said, we have lost half our ships. Dan nodded grimly. Around him, the bridge crew continued to work even as their ship shook from enemy fire. These were good people, fighting for their homes and families. The Aldery ships fought bravely, but were badly outgunned. One by one, they were destroyed by Krell fire. Elder Veltar himself commanded the last Aldery ship. Human friends, Veltar said over the radio as his ship began to break apart, remember us. Remember that some debts are worth dying for. His ship exploded in a ball of fire, taking a Krell cruiser with it. Admiral Collins watched from the command ship as her fleet was slowly destroyed. They had managed to damage many Krell ships, but it was not enough. The enemy still had over 200 vessels ready to attack Earth. All ships retreat to Earth, she ordered. We will make our final stand there. The surviving human ships limped back toward Earth, followed by the Krell fleet. 30 human ships remained out of 80. All 40 Aldery ships were gone, along with their brave crews. Dr. Lisa Harper was on Earth when the news arrived. She was now the head of the Alien Technology Research Division, still studying strange devices from across the galaxy. In her secure lab sat the Nexus key, unchanged after all these years. Doctor, her assistant said, Admiral Collins requests your immediate presence at Fleet Command. Lisa looked at the Nexus key one more time before leaving. The crystal device seemed to glow a little brighter than usual, but she told herself it was just her imagination. At Fleet Command, Admiral Collins showed Lisa the tactical display. Earth was surrounded by defensive stations and ships, but everyone knew it would not be enough. The Krell will be here in 6 days, Collins said. We have maybe 40 ships left that can fight. They have over 200. What about our allies? Lisa asked. We have no allies, Collins said bitterly. The Zephyrians are neutral. The Nexus Collective thinks helping us is inefficient. Everyone else is afraid the Krell will attack them next if they help us. Lisa thought about the Aldery, who had died fighting beside humans, even though they knew they could not win. The Alvari helped us, she said quietly. The Alvari are all dead, Collins replied. Every ship, every crew. They died for nothing. No, Lisa said firmly. They died for friendship. That is not nothing. As the Krell fleet approached Earth, panic spread through the human population. Some people tried to flee in any ship they could find. Others prepared to fight to the end. Children in schools practiced hiding in bomb shelters. Captain Steve Walsh commanded one of the orbital defense platforms around Earth. He looked at his crew, young men and women who had never seen real combat. "Sir," one of them asked, "do we have any chance?" Steve looked at Earth through the porthole, a blue and green world full of life and hope. "We have each other," he said. "That will have to be enough." The Krell fleet arrived on schedule, their massive ships blotting out the stars. Admiral Collins sent one final message to the galaxy. "This is Admiral Beth Collins of the Human Defense Fleet," she said. "We are about to be destroyed by the Krell Empire. We asked for help, and you turned your backs on us. Remember this day. Remember that when evil came calling, you chose to do nothing. Maybe the Krell will come for you next. When they do, you will understand what we face now." The Krell commander answered on an open channel. "Humans are weak," he said in his harsh voice. "You waste resources on inferior species. You will make good slaves for those who survive." Admiral Collins gave the order. "All ships, prepare for battle. Make them pay for every inch." As the two fleets moved toward each other, deep beneath Earth's surface, the Nexus Key began to glow brighter than it ever had before. Dr. Lisa Harper felt the building shake around her as Krell bombs exploded above ground. She was deep beneath Earth's surface in the most secure research facility humans had ever built. Even here, 50 feet underground, she could feel the enemy. "Attack. Doctor, we need to evacuate," said her assistant, Mark Stevens. "The Krell are breaking through the orbital defenses." Lisa looked at the Nexus Key sitting on her research table. The crystal device was glowing brighter than she had ever seen it. For 25 years, she had studied this artifact without understanding what it could do. Now, with Earth under attack and humanity facing extinction, she was out of time. "Mark, get to the evacuation shuttles," she said. "I am staying here." "Doctor, that is crazy." "The Krell will be here soon. Go," Lisa ordered. "That is a direct command." Mark hesitated, then ran for the exit. Lisa was alone with the Nexus Key and her equipment. Above her, she could hear the sounds of battle growing closer. Admiral Collins was fighting the battle of her life. The human defense fleet was outnumbered 5-1, but they were fighting for their whole world. Every ship that was destroyed took at least one Krell vessel with it. "Ma'am," Captain Walsh reported from his defense platform, "we have lost 60% of our ships. The Krell are moving toward the planet." Collins watched her tactical display. Red dots representing Krell ships were getting closer to Earth. Her blue dots were disappearing one by one. "All remaining ships," she ordered, "fall back to the final defense line. We make our stand here." Captain Amy Rodriguez was aboard one of the last human destroyers. Her ship had been badly damaged, but her crew kept fighting. Through her ship's windows, she could see Krell vessels the size of cities moving toward Earth. "Captain," her weapons officer said, "we are out of missiles. Only energy weapons left." "Then we use what we have," Amy replied. "Target the nearest Krell ship." Meanwhile, deep underground, Lisa was making a desperate choice. She had tried every test she could think of on the Nexus Key, but nothing worked. The device remained a mystery. Now, with minutes left before the Krell reached Earth, she decided to try something dangerous. Human scientists had developed bioneural interfaces to connect human brains directly to computer systems. Lisa had helped design this technology, but Connecting to an alien device was extremely risky. It could kill her or drive her insane. "Computer, activate bioneural interface," she said. "Warning," the computer replied. "Connecting to unknown alien technology may cause permanent brain damage." "Or death. Override safety protocols," Lisa said. "Authorization Harper Alpha 7. The interface activated. Lisa placed the neural connector against her temple and picked up the Nexus key. The moment her skin touched the crystal, everything changed. Information flooded into Lisa's mind. Not words or pictures, but pure knowledge that bypassed her normal senses. She saw the history of the galaxy, civilizations that had risen and fallen millions of years ago. She saw the builders of the Nexus key, an ancient race called the Architects. The Architects had been like humans in some ways. They were explorers and builders, but they were also warriors when they needed to be. They had created a vast network of weapons and defenses across the galaxy to protect younger species from those who would destroy them. But the Architects had grown tired of being galactic policemen. They had seen too much war, too much death. Rather than rule the galaxy forever, they had chosen to disappear, leaving their network dormant until a worthy species could inherit it. They had given the Nexus key to the Alvari, along with instructions. To wait, the Alvari were to watch the galaxy and look for a species that showed wisdom, courage, and compassion. A species that would use great power responsibly. Humanity, Lisa whispered as the knowledge filled her mind. They chose humanity. The Nexus key was not just a control device. It was a test. Only a species that would risk everything to save others could activate it. Only a species that helped without expecting reward could be trusted with the power. Of the Architects, Lisa felt her consciousness expand beyond her body. She was connected to thousands of installations across the galaxy, weapons platforms, defense systems, and automated fleets that had waited millions of years for activation. Above ground, the battle for Earth was nearly over. The last human ships were being destroyed by Krell fire. Captain Steve Walsh watched from his defense platform as enemy troops landed on Earth's surface. "Sir," one of his officers said, "we are receiving a transmission from deep inside the planet." "Put it through," Steve ordered. Lisa's voice came over the communication system, but she sounded different. Her words carried strange echoes, as if she were speaking from very far away. "Captain Walsh, this is Dr. Harper. I am activating the Architect Defense Network. Tell all human and allied ships to move away from Krell vessels immediately." "Doctor, what are you talking about?" Steve asked. "The Alvari gave us more than just a crystal," Lisa said. "They gave us the inheritance of the galaxy's greatest civilization. But, Captain, you need to understand, once I fully activate this network, there is no going back. The galaxy will never be the same." Steve looked at his tactical display. Krell. Ships were everywhere, bombing human cities and landing troops on the surface. "Doctor, whatever you can do it now." Lisa closed her eyes and opened her mind completely to the Nexus key. Across the galaxy, installations that had slept for millions of years began to wake up. Captain Amy Rodriguez was fighting 3 Krell ships at once when space around her began to shimmer. Massive shapes appeared out of nowhere, ships larger than anything she had ever seen. They looked like they were made of crystal and light, beautiful and terrible at the same time. "What are those?" her weapons officer asked, before Amy could answer. The mysterious ships opened fire. Beams of pure energy lanced out and struck the Krell vessels. The enemy ships, which had seemed unstoppable, were destroyed in seconds. The same thing was happening all over the galaxy. Ancient defense platforms phased into normal space around every inhabited world. Automated fleets that had waited eons for activation began moving toward their targets. Admiral Collins watched in amazement as her tactical display changed. The red dots representing Krell ships were disappearing one by one, replaced by new blue. Dots that her computer could not identify. "Ma'am," Captain Walsh reported, "the Krell fleet is being destroyed. Something is hunting them." Collins opened a channel to Dr. Harper. "Lisa, what have you done?" Lisa's voice was calm but sad. "I activated our inheritance, Beth. The ancient race that built the Nexus key left their weapons for a species worthy of them. The Alderai have been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for the right people to give the key to. And they chose us? They chose us because we saved them without asking for anything in return. Because we help others, even when it hurts us. Because we would rather die than let innocent people suffer." Collins looked at her display. The Krell invasion fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons beyond human understanding. But she could see other things happening across the galaxy. More ancient installations coming online, defense networks activating around every inhabited world. "Lisa," she said quietly, "how much power do we have now?" There was a long pause before. Lisa answered, "All of it, Beth. We have all the power in the galaxy. The question is, what are we going to do with it?" On Earth's surface, Krell troops were surrendering to human forces. Their officers were receiving reports that their entire invasion fleet had been destroyed by unknown weapons. The war was over, but the galaxy was about to discover that everything had changed. In her underground laboratory, Lisa Harper sat connected to the Nexus key, her consciousness spread across thousands of star systems. She could feel the power at her command, enough to reshape the galaxy, to punish those who had refused to help, to become the rulers of all known space. But she also felt the weight of responsibility. The architects had given up this power because they knew how dangerous it was. Now that burden fell to humanity. "Computer," she said, "open a channel to all inhabited worlds in the galaxy." "Channel open, Doctor." Lisa took a deep breath. "What?" She said next would determine the future of every species in known space. Dr. Lisa Harper's voice echoed across every inhabited world in the galaxy. Her words reached Zephyrian council chambers, Nexus collective computation centers, and the throne rooms of a dozen different empires. "This is Dr. Lisa Harper of Earth, speaking through the Architect Defense Network," she said. "The Krell invasion of human space has been stopped. All Krell military vessels have been disabled or destroyed. Krell ground forces on human worlds will surrender immediately or face the consequences." On the Krell home world, War Leader Thax stared at his command screen in disbelief. Moments ago, he had commanded the largest invasion fleet in Krell history. Now, every single ship was gone. "How is this possible?" He roared at his officers. "Humans are weak. They have no weapons that can defeat us." "Sir," one of his subordinates said nervously, "our ships were destroyed by vessels we have never seen before. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." Thax turned to look at the main display, which showed space around his world. Massive crystalline ships hung in orbit like predators waiting to strike. Each one was larger than his greatest dreadnought. Captain Amy Rodriguez was still in shock as she watched the mysterious ships patrol around Earth. Her destroyer was damaged but intact, saved by the intervention of the ancient vessels. "Captain," her communication officer said, "we are receiving new orders from Fleet Command." "Put it through," Amy said. Admiral Collins' voice came over the speaker. "All ships maintain current positions, but do not engage the unknown vessels. They appear to be friendly. We are trying to establish communication with Dr. Harper." Amy looked at her tactical display. The space around Earth was filled with the crystal ships. They moved with perfect precision, like a school of fish or a flock of birds. Whatever intelligence controlled them was far beyond human understanding. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Murphy was on Earth's surface, accepting the surrender of Krell ground troops. The alien soldiers threw down their weapons and raised their hands. Many of them were looking at the sky in fear. "Sir," one of Dan's sergeants said, "the Krell commander wants to speak with you." Dan approached the alien officer, a massive creature covered in scales and natural armor. The Krell was twice Dan's size, but clearly terrified. "Human," the Krell said in broken English. "What are those ships? What power do you command?" "I honestly do not know," Dan replied. "But I suggest you tell your people to surrender peacefully." Meanwhile, deep underground, Lisa was struggling to maintain her connection to the Nexus key. The amount of information flowing through her mind was overwhelming. She could see everything, every ship, every planet, every defense installation across the galaxy. The Architect network was vast beyond imagination. Weapons platforms orbited every major world. Automated fleets patrolled space lanes. Sensor arrays monitored communications across thousands of star systems. For millions of years, this network had waited in silence. Now it was fully active and under human control. But Lisa was learning that great power came with terrible choices. "Dr. Harper," came a transmission from the Nexus Collective. "We request immediate dialogue regarding the current situation." Lisa could see their message arriving at one of the Architect communication nodes. The Nexus Collective, which had calculated that helping humanity was inefficient, now wanted to talk. She opened the channel. "This is Dr. Harper. What do you want?" The artificial voice of the Collective was carefully neutral. "We wish to establish peaceful relations with the new controllers of the Architect network. Our previous calculations regarding human-Krell conflict did not account for this variable. Your calculations were that humans would be destroyed, and you did not care," Lisa said. "Now that we have power, you want to be friends." "Correct. We are prepared to offer technological exchange and alliance." Lisa felt anger rising in her mind, but she pushed it down. The Architect network was responding to her emotions, and she could sense weapons systems targeting Nexus Collective worlds. One angry thought from her could start a war that would destroy entire civilizations. "I will consider your request," she said, and closed the channel. Similar messages were coming from across the galaxy. The Zephyrians, who had declared neutrality during the Krell invasion, now wanted to discuss mutual cooperation. The Kandarian Empire offered trade agreements. The Hegemony of Worlds requested a cultural exchange program. Every species that had ignored human pleas for help now wanted to be humanity's friend. Captain Steve Walsh was still on his defense platform, watching the ancient ships patrol around Earth. He opened a channel to Dr. Harper. "Doctor, this is Captain Walsh. Can you hear me?" Lisa's voice came back, but it sounded strained. "I can hear you, Steve. Are you all right?" "We are fine here, thanks to you. But doctor, we need to know, what happens now?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I am not sure, Steve. The network is showing me things the Architects could do. I can see the weapons they built, the power they wielded. They could destroy entire star systems if they wanted to. But you would not do that, right?" "I hope not," Lisa said quietly. "But Steve, the network is designed to eliminate threats to galactic peace, and it considers many species to be threats." Steve felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" "The Krell are not the only aggressive species in the galaxy. The network has identified dozens of civilizations that it wants to remove. The Architects built this system to protect peaceful species from warlike ones." "That is genocide." Steve said, double quotes, "Yes, it is. And the network is asking me to authorize it." Admiral Collins was in her command center, trying to understand the scope of what had happened. Her intelligence officers were reporting that Architect installations were appearing around every inhabited world in the galaxy. "Ma'am," one of them sighed, "we are detecting massive power buildups at several installations. It looks like they are charging some kind of weapons." Collins opened a channel to Lisa. "Doctor, Please tell me you are not about to start a galactic war. I am trying not to, Lisa replied. But the network keeps showing me threats. Species that attack others, that enslave weaker civilizations, that destroy planets for resources. It wants me to eliminate all of them. Can you refuse? I can try. But Admiral, I am not sure how long I can maintain control. The network is designed for a species much more advanced than humans. It is like trying to drive a starship with the controls of a bicycle. Collins looked at her tactical display. The mysterious ships were still protecting Earth, but she could see similar vessels appearing throughout human space. Whatever decision Lisa made would affect the entire galaxy. On the Zephyrian homeworld, the ruling council was in emergency session. Ancient defense platforms had appeared in their system, weapons pointed at their cities. We must contact the humans immediately, said Council Leader Zephyron. Offer them whatever they want. They asked for our help during the Krell invasion, another council member pointed out. We refused. That was before we knew they controlled the Architect Network, Zephyron replied. Now we must hope they are more forgiving than we were. The same conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had spent centuries fighting each other were suddenly united in fear of humanity's new power. But on New Aldera, the surviving Alderi had a different reaction. The few thousand who remained after the battle with the Krell gathered around their communication center to listen to the galactic broadcasts. Elder Valtar was right, said one of them. The humans were worthy. They activated the network. But will they use it wisely? Asked another. The oldest surviving Alderi, a female named Silwyn, smiled. Did they not save us when we had nothing to offer? Did they not risk their lives to protect us from the Krell? If anyone can be trusted with the power of the architects, it is humanity. Back on Earth, Lisa was facing the hardest decision in human history. The Architect Network was waiting for her commands. She could reshape the galaxy in any way she chose. She could punish those who had refused to help. She could eliminate aggressive species forever. She could make humanity the rulers of all known space. Or she could try to find another way. Admiral Collins, she said over the communication system, I need you to gather our best people. Diplomats, philosophers, historians. Anyone who can help me figure out what to do with this power. Doctor, are you all right? You sound different. Lisa looked at her reflection in a piece of equipment. Her eyes were glowing with the same blue light as the Nexus key. The connection was changing her, making her something more than human. I am becoming something else, she said. The network is too complex for a normal human mind. I am evolving to handle it. But I am still me, Beth. Still the person who believes in doing what is right. What do you need from us? Lisa closed her eyes and felt the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on her. Help me decide what humanity should do with the power to reshape the universe. 3 months had passed since the activation of the Architect Network. Dr. Lisa Harper now spent most of her time connected to the Nexus key. Her consciousness spread across the galaxy. Her body remained in the underground facility, sustained by medical equipment, while her mind controlled the most powerful force the galaxy had ever known. Admiral, Beth Collins stood before the newly formed Galactic Council on Earth. Representatives from every major species sat in the Great Hall. There, faces showing a mixture of fear and respect. These were the same beings who had refused to help humanity during the Krell invasion. The question before us, Collins said, is simple. How do we build a galaxy where no species faces extinction alone? The Zephyrian representative, Zephyron, raised his hand. Admiral Collins, we wish to formally apologize for our neutrality during the Krell crisis. We offer full technological and military support to the new galactic order. Collins looked at him with cold eyes. Where was this support when we were dying? We made an error in judgment, Zephyron said quietly. Across the hall, the representative of the Nexus Collective spoke in its mechanical voice. The collective has recalculated. Cooperation with humanity is now deemed highly efficient. Your calculations said we would lose to the Krell, Collins replied. Your calculations said helping us was wasteful. Why should we trust your calculations? Now, the machine was silent for several seconds. We acknowledge computational error. Human variables were underestimated. Captain Steve Walsh entered the hall and approached Collins. Admiral, Dr. Harper wants to address the council. The lights dimmed, and Lisa's voice filled the room. But she no longer sounded entirely human. Her words carried strange harmonics, as if she were speaking from multiple places at once. Representatives of the galaxy, Lisa said, I have spent 3 months learning to control the Architect Network. I have seen the history of every species in this room. I know your wars, your conquests, your failures. The assembled aliens shifted nervously in their seats. The Krell Empire has enslaved 43 species in the last 1,000 years, Lisa continued. The hegemony of worlds has destroyed 12 civilizations for their resources. The Zephyrians have stood by and watched genocide happen 6 times in their recorded history. War leader Thax of the Krell stood up, his massive frame towering over the other representatives. Human, we surrender to your power. The Krell Empire will serve humanity. I do not want servants, Lisa said. I want the galaxy to change. The hall was completely silent now. Every being present could feel the weight of the power behind Lisa's words. The Architect Network gives me the ability to destroy any civilization I choose, she said. I could eliminate every aggressive species in the galaxy. I could remake all of you according to human values. I could rule as an empress over 1,000 worlds. The Zephyrian representative was trembling. What ... What do you intend to do? I intend to keep the promise humanity made when we save the Elvery, Lisa replied. No species will face extinction alone. No civilization will be allowed to destroy another. The galaxy will know peace. On New Aldera, the surviving Elvery listened to the broadcast with pride. Silwyn, now their leader, smiled as she heard Lisa's words. Elder Veltar would be proud, she said to her people. The humans understand the true purpose of power. Back on Earth, Collins looked around the council chamber. Dr. Harper has made humanity's position clear, but this will not be a human empire. We are establishing a new galactic government where every species has a voice. A Nexus Collective representative asked, What are the terms of membership? Collins activated a holographic display showing a document that had taken months to write. The Galactic Peace Accord. Any species that signs agrees to several basic principles. No wars of conquest, no slavery, no genocide. All disputes to be settled through negotiation or arbitration. And if we refuse? Asked a representative of the Kandarian Empire. Lisa's voice answered from the speakers. Then you will find that the Architect Network considers you a threat to galactic peace. I would prefer not to use that power, but I will, if necessary. Captain Amy Rodriguez was aboard her rebuilt ship, now part of the new Galactic Peace Fleet. Her crew included humans, Elvery, and even some reformed Krell soldiers. She looked at her mixed crew with satisfaction. Captain, her Elvery navigation officer said, we are receiving a distress call from the Sigma sector. A species called the Velani is under attack by raiders. Set course for Sigma sector. Amy. Ordered. Maximum speed. This was the new galaxy. Species working together to protect each other. The Galactic Peace Fleet responded to threats anywhere in known space, with ships and crews from dozens of different worlds. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Murphy was training the new Galactic Peace Corps on Earth. His students came from many species, learning to work together to prevent conflicts before they started. The goal is not to conquer, he told them. The goal is to protect. We help those who cannot help themselves. A young Zephyrian recruit raised her hand. Colonel, what if a species does not want our help? Then we respect their choice, Dan replied. But we also make it clear that harming others will have consequences. Deep underground, Lisa felt the weight of her responsibilities growing heavier each day. The Architect Network showed her everything, every conflict, every injustice, every moment of suffering across the galaxy. The temptation to use her power to fix everything was overwhelming. Computer, she said, show me the status of the Villani. Situation. The display showed Captain Rodriguez's ship arriving at the Villani home world, just as Galactic Peace Fleet reinforcements drove off the raiders. No shots were fired. The raiders fled as soon as they saw the ancient architect ships accompanying the Peace Fleet. Conflict resolved with minimal violence, the computer reported. This was how most problems were solved now. The mere presence of the Architect Network was enough to prevent most conflicts. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy. Those who threatened others would face humanity's guardians. But Lisa knew this peace was fragile. It depended on her maintaining control of the network, and she could feel herself changing more each day. Her human consciousness was expanding, becoming something larger and stranger. Collins visited her every week, one of the few people who could still reach Lisa's human side. "How are you feeling?" Collins asked during one visit. "Less human every day," Lisa admitted, "but also more aware of what needs to be done." The architects faced this same choice, Beth. They could have ruled forever, but they chose to step aside. "Are you planning to do the same?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "Eventually, but not yet. The galaxy needs to learn that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that helping others is not weakness. And they are learning? Some are. The Alderae were right. Most species just needed the right example. But there are still those who see kindness as weakness." Collins nodded. "The Krell? Among others. Thax still believes that mercy is a flaw. He obeys because he has no choice. But he does not understand. Neither do the Zephyrians or the Nexus Collective. They follow our rules because they fear our power, not because they believe in our values." "Then we keep teaching them," Collins said. "Yes, and we prepare for the day when someone else can carry this burden." 6 months later, the first annual Galactic Peace Assembly convened on Earth. Representatives from over 200 species gathered to discuss trade, exploration, and cooperation. The contrast with the Emergency Council months earlier was striking. These beings were talking to each other as equals, not cowering before human power. Captain Steve Walsh, now promoted to Admiral, oversaw security for the assembly. He watched delegates from former enemy species sharing meals and discussing joint research projects. "Hard to believe these are the same people who refuse to help us," he said to his aide. "Fear can teach many lessons," the aide replied. But Walsh knew it was more than fear. Humanity had kept its promises. The Galactic Peace Fleet protected all species equally. Human diplomats worked to resolve conflicts fairly. The Architect Network was used only when absolutely necessary, and always with restraint. The galaxy was learning that humanity's strength came not from their weapons, but from their values. In her underground chamber, Lisa felt a moment of satisfaction as she watched the assembly through the network sensors. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together. Wars were being prevented through negotiation. The strong were protecting the weak instead of exploiting them. The Alderae delegation at the assembly was small but proud. Silwyn stood to address the gathered representatives. 25 years ago, she said, my people were dying, and no one would help us except humanity. Today, we see a galaxy where no species needs to face extinction alone. This is the gift. Humanity has given us all a knowledge that we are stronger together than apart. The assembly erupted in applause. Even species that had initially resented human authority now recognized the wisdom of cooperation. Lisa opened a communication channel to the assembly. "This is Dr. Harper. I want you all to know that what you have built here is more important than any weapon, more powerful than any empire. You have proven that different species can work together for the common good." "What does the future hold?" asked one delegate. "That depends on you," Lisa replied. "The Architect Network will not exist for Eve.